Coach Frank Martin returns to Marching to Madness as he has 335 wins in 18 seasons at Kansas State, South Carolina, and now UMass. Coach Martin looks to rebuild the Minutemen as the program now joins the Mid-American Conference this July 1st. Coach, it's always a pleasure and good to talk to you.
Ken, great to see you, man. It's with all the change we got in college athletics, now we're also changing conferences. So there's a lot of new moving parts in our future here.
Definitely two pathways. You look at last season, though, what are some ways that you've already worked to reestablish this program? Many people don't realize that UMass has only been to one NCAA tournament since 1998.
Yeah, it's been the greatness of the 90s. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to figure out how to say this in a non-safety net way.
Sure.
But the greatness of the 90s was so powerful that 30 years later, people continue to view it like that. That's what's been going on around here.
Yeah.
And it's a great place. I mean, we've got everything we need to win here. I'm not into speaking why Calipari had success or why other people didn't. It's none of my.
Yeah.
All I know is that in this business, every job is hard. That everyone says, well, Duke or Kentucky, those jobs are really hard. Yeah. Every job is hard. And the temperature that we're in college athletics right now, it's even harder because it's brand new. It's not bad. It's not wrong. Do I agree with some things? No. Do I agree with some of the new things? Yes. But everything's brand new. How you manage, how you go about your daily routines, it's how you recruit. It's all different. So we're all trying to figure it out in the moment that we're in. Going to this new conference, we had to. I can't just sit here and say, well, our players didn't do this, didn't do this, didn't do that. I didn't do a very good job of managing last year in a brand new environment. The decisions I made did not work. How I thought of handling the team in the moment that not in the season, everything from leading into the season to once the season hit, just didn't work. I wish I can tell you something different. As I reflect to my responsibilities, I didn't do my part. But now I've got a chapter that I can kind of refer back to and say, no, that didn't work, so don't do that again. And now as I enter this year, I've got an opinion on the things I got to do better. And then I also have opinions as to when we recruited to put last year's team together, some of the things that maybe we had to do differently. And we've addressed those things. And I think we've recruited a little differently because of those things. And but like I am every year, Ken, I'm just giving you as you asked me about moving away and moving forward, I'm giving you a little of the self-reflection that I went through and that I went through with my staff. But like I am every year at this time of year, I can't wait for guys to get here in the summer and get going and get to know these guys and figure out a way to help them. And then do what we do as coaches, which is really hard, which is get players to sacrifice and so they can learn how to get along with each other. So then when the season gets here in November, we can figure out a way to come together as a team and win games.
I see on the list here 8 new incoming players at UMass. So what are the different ways that you went about recruiting?
Actually, the number's 10.
10.
We signed 8 in the spring and 2 in the fall.
Okay.
I still believe in the high school model. Mm-hmm. I'm not one of these coaches that says the heck with high school guys.
Yeah.
I just think that the high school model fits who we are.
Sure.
And Ken, here's the deal.
Mhm.
Like at the end of the day, I was fortunate. I've coached some unbelievable players in my career. And I'm going to pick on one because I had him for 1 year, Michael Beasley.
Yeah.
You know, he came in, spent 10 months with us, worked his tail off. I learned a lot about coaching somebody of his caliber. He made me such a better coach. Like I reflect now, and I'm like, I wish I can coach him again because I know so much more now than I did 18 years ago.
Mhm.
But he was awesome. He helped me build a team that ended up, because of his work ethic and his commitment and his personality, he left. Everybody else got better moving forward because of him. Um, uh, 10 months later, he's gone to make a lot of money.
Mhm.
Well, I get it, man. Like, you know, we bring a guy in here at UMass and he plays for 1 or 2 years and he becomes a first team all league player and he helps us win and he gets an opportunity to go to some school that can pay him $1 million.
Yeah.
Go, man. Go. I'm happy for it. That's what life's all about. Why would I be upset? It's the rules. No one cheated. There's no backdooring.
Sure.
It's the new world that we've created. So, um, we've put together a team, Ken, that utilizing the resources that we have, which I got to compliment the people I answer to.
Mhm.
They prepared to basically really go all in for this upcoming year going into the MAC. That was last year. We had resources, but we nowhere near the resources we have this year. That was part of the plan to be a little conservative and move forward and be excited about this year. And now here we are, and excited to get these 10 guys. But we also identified junior college as a place to recruit that I think can really be helpful to us based on Ken, at the end of the day, everything I'm saying,
Yeah.
you can't buy a BMW if you're making $20,000 a year. That's not intelligent business. And we've got really good resources, and it's going to be really compatible with the top of the MAC conference. But at the same time, I can't go recruit the guys Kentucky recruits because, you know, they can pay 10 of those guys a certain number. If I paid one guy that number, I'm pretty much out of money for everybody else. So it's a complicated moment. We got to figure it out. But Division II, grad transfers, junior college, and high school guys, we got to identify all 4 spots.
As you transition into the MAC,
Yeah.
UMass has been the Atlantic 10 for 49 years and, you know, a vaunted member, like we're saying. So how does that transition happen as of right now? Where are you in the process?
I've got to understand that conference. Obviously, as coaches, when you're coaching in the same league against the same coaches every year, I don't have to watch film in the off season about the opponents because we're as coaches, we are who we are. Our teams are going to play a certain way. If you told me I had to go coach against John Calipari tomorrow, I know what they're going to do, and he knows what we're going to do because that's who we are. And but now going into a new league, I've coached against a couple of guys in that conference, so I have ideas how their teams play. I've got some other guys that are friends that are head coaches in that league, so I got an idea how they play. But now I actually have to study that conference. So in the off season, as a staff, we're going to watch a lot of film to get a feel for how those teams play. So when we get to September, October, there's a mindset already in place as coaches as to who we got to become as a team to have a chance to compete for the league championship. Because every league you ever go into, the idea is to compete for your league championship. It's not anything else. You got to go compete to win your conference. And if you can win your conference, you're good enough to beat whoever's in front of you past those games. And so it's that's the world that we're trying to create here this summer as we enter that new conference.
So 10 incoming players. How do you develop the team identity with that big of a changeover?
Yeah, that used to take time,
Yeah.
and now we're forced into uh, being creative on how to create um, uh, 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 the bonding, the experiences, that age group. Like Ken, you and I can speak on whatever forever.
Yeah.
That age group, I got children that age.
Yeah.
That age group, they don't like to speak.
No.
They don't like to express themselves like we are right now. Now they'll put their emotions and their feelings on social media. They'll
Mm-hmm.
put their life experiences on social media, but they struggle sitting down having a conversation with a peer and expressing themselves. So we have to figure out a way on how to continue to create the environments where they're forced to get to know each other because they won't do it on their own.
Yeah.
And getting to know each other is knowing what you're for, but it's also knowing what you're against. You got to understand both.
Yeah.
You can't, because when there's low stress, we all get along. But when there is stress, we tend to go to our cocoon that it's our safety net. And if your safety net goes against what I'm for, then it's hard to connect as people. So we got to be creative in the summer. I started something last summer that was really helpful for the team, but I don't think we as coaches utilized it to be helpful to us. So we're going to be a little different on how we manage it this year, and I call it a boot camp. So that we bring guys in summer one for 10 straight days, and for 10 straight days, we under the NCAA guidelines of time and all that stuff. We lift weights. We utilize our on court basketball time. We allow them to play on their own, so they're around each other because there's no one on campus here summer one, nobody. So it's just going to be them. And then we do community service somewhere around the state, and then we do a team bonding function. So we spend 10 days where we're in different environments so I can see who's a giver. When you do community service, you can, as a coach, you sit on the side and you can see right away what guys are going to be givers. They give you their energy and enthusiasm when they're in a gym or a school or a facility with people they don't know. And you can see who goes sit in the corner, try and get in the background that they really, and you have to encourage them to go help. So you get to understand who's on your team. Then you create the weight room. The weight room is a self challenge. The weight room is hard. You learn a lot. I had an old coach used to tell me, Frank, the weight room don't lie. And I just said, what do you mean by that? He says, when they get underneath that weight, some guys will figure out a way to push it off their chest. Some guys will figure out a way to give in. So the weight room don't lie. You find out about guys individually in the weight room and then collectively on the court by making them compete and learn. Competing is about the scoreboard, but competing is also to see who's willing to learn and who's willing to help. So you get a feel for all that in the summer. And as coaches, we got to be better from letting the players understand us rather than us just understand them.
A lot of psychology there, Coach, as it not only applies to basketball, but to life.
Yep. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the world is and then what happens, Ken, is now everything's awesome in the summer because it's just us here. There's no opinions publicly about anything. And everything's great in September and October.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as we take the court, now there's referees, there's people in the stands, there's television cameras, and now it brings the outside world opinion into these kids' heads and their world. And in the world that we've created, we've got young people thinking the statistics is what gets them paid, or to use their lingo, that's what helps them secure the bag.
Yeah.
And the only place that securing the bag, your stats matter are in individual sports.
Mm-hmm.
Go play tennis, go be a boxer, go wrestle. Then your personal stats impact your individual success. In team sports, it's about winning.
Mhm.
If you want to create real value for yourself, help your team win. That you go back forever and ever and ever, and that's the way it works. Like like Rasul Diggins this past year. Rasul, he had a 46-point game. He like in league play, he played really, really well. He was a third team all league player. Last year, we had two guys that had lesser stats than Rasul. They both became first team all league players. Why? Because we won. And winning in team sports is still it's still what lifts all boats, and that's what creates maximum value for everybody.
Dwayne Wimley Jr. is rated a 4-star recruit who has the outside shooting ability to spread a defense as he can control the tempo and the game.
He's somebody. I've known his dad for a while. His dad's they're South Florida people, and I remember his dad as a high school player. He played for a dear friend of mine at St. Thomas Aquinas High School down there.
Sure.
Steve Strand was his coach, and then Dwayne ended up playing for Leonard Hamilton at Miami. His dad, senior. We were recruiting junior really hard, and then Florida State offered, and that was. I remember when the dad called me, said, "Frank," I said, "Like, yo, man, that's family. Like, come on, that's Leonard's your guy. Like you don't have to explain this to me." So as Leonard retired, we got later in the season. I got a call from senior. He said, "Frank, we're going to reopen the recruitment. Junior, only name he says is you."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, when you reopen it, call me back, and then we can get into a deep conversation." And they did, and away we went. I got on a plane. I flew down there like the next day, spent time with the family, and I'm ecstatic. I'm ecstatic that he believed in us so much that he gave us a chance to hopefully impact his career in a positive way.
I noticed point guard Danny Carbuccia will embrace your pace and style of play in consistently playing against high level teams and talent. How has his playmaking skills been potentially at a high level and one that you can use, I think, almost immediately?
Yeah, Ken, I'm not very good at uh, predicting the future.
Oh,
Every
yeah.
time I try to do that, it kind of slaps me right in the face.
Yeah.
But I tend to peek in the past to have an idea of what's coming in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I share that with you because Danny, by all accounts, is the best point guard in New York City this year.
Yeah.
And if you go back in history, most guys that have been the best point guard in New York City over the years, they
Mm-hmm.
end up becoming pretty good darn players.
Not bad.
And yeah, and so I'm really excited about Danny. He's a winner, consummate winner. To your point, always played with good players around him. Uh, his biggest asset is he loves to pass the ball to get people opportunities. Guys like that create a feel-good atmosphere on your team. Guys want to play with guys like that because, if you're going to pass me the ball so I can score, or you trust me with the ball to make decisions, tells me a lot about you. That you're believing me, and when people believe in you, you tend to go back to them. And he's a uniter. Starting point guard on the Dominican national team, 19 and under team. They're going to Switzerland this summer. He's used to playing on the biggest stages throughout his high school, AAU, and international careers. Tough for the nails. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited. He's the fact that we were able to recruit someone like DJ Wimbley Jr. and Danny Carbuccia out of high school. It says a lot about our staff. We've got some really good assistant coaches here.
Marcus Banks Jr. is a UMBC transfer who has led the American East Conference in three-pointers in each of the last seasons. When you have a proven three-point shooter, how do you build his game to make him even more productive as an overall talent.
Yeah, I mean, I the best way to improve is continue to get better at what you're already good at.
Yeah,
So he's got to continue to shoot the basketball. Offensively, that which is the hard part when you only coach guys for 1 year
sure.
is how do I help them get better um, without getting in their heads where they try to do things differently and then they get away from their strengths. I think he's a competitive guy. He's a willing defender. I think we have to challenge him to grow defensively. Somebody that shoots the ball like he does. Shooters, the best place to get shooters open looks is in the open court.
Mhm.
So getting him to comprehend the pace that we want to play with, to be able to get up and down the court, it makes it hard on the defense to identify shooters in the open court. And then recruit the right kind of guys around him. That like Danny, a willing passer, DJ, a ferocious rebounder that just plays with tremendous pace. So all that creates the passing and the aggression that you want to play with. And then the last part is once he gets here and I actually get around him in person, because I watch film and I've got opinions watching film, but it's different than when you actually get on the floor with somebody. Figure out what maybe he's okay at so he can get better at, and then figure out what are weaknesses. See, everybody wants people to improve their weaknesses. You don't want to improve your weaknesses. You want to eliminate your weaknesses. And that means don't live in your weaknesses. That means don't do what you're not good at. And especially in the tight window that we've got is that's why I said we have to get guys to maximize what they're good at in these little windows that we're given when we coach them, and then try to improve them any other way we possibly can.
What is your philosophy on moving a talented small forward to the point and allowing him to facilitate the action from there?
Yeah, I mean, guys that cannot process, you can't give them access to decision making.
Yeah,
And that's whether guys are 5'11" or 6'9". The guys that have the ability to process, make decisions, you can trust them with the ball because they can decide whether it's a bounce pass or an over the top pass, whether it's time to shoot it, pass it, or drive it. It's all decision making. And so when like Matt Cross was a phenomenal player in that aspect. So as I got coaching him, as we went past those initial first couple months and into his second year, I gave him in the open court, anytime he got a rebound, we tried to eliminate the outlet pass. As soon as he got the rebound, everyone knew we're gone. And then he became a decision maker with the ball in the open court. And then in the half court, I'm a big believer. Like you run your offense, your point guard has to run your offense through your best decision-making big, move the defense, and then if you still haven't gotten the shot you want, it ends up back in your point guard to make the decision at the end after you move the defense. That's the cliff notes of the way I envision half-court basketball. And so that's where the point forward ideas come from. We've got a couple guys that fit that bill, DJ Wembley being one of them. He's always been a decision maker with the ball.
Obviously, I've watched your teams throughout your career, and it's always generally stacked with hard-nosed players who rise to meet challenges. If you bring in a player with a tough mentality, how do you work to build that player into an even more aggressive presence?
Yeah. Ken, it's funny you asked that question because when I was young as a head coach, as you're an assistant coach, you got to recruit to your head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of was lucky because Ronnie Everhart and Hugs both valued those traits that you just mentioned. So I was recruiting to what I was comfortable in recruiting. But now you become a head coach, and I would make decisions early in my career, taking guys that had those traits and maybe weren't as good at passing or shooting. And I learned the hard way. I can yell and demand that guys to defend better. You can't yell and demand that guys to shoot and pass better.
Yeah.
That's not something that you can work on it in drills all you want. So we try to identify passing and shooting. Like with this class, that was a big thing for me. We last year we didn't shoot it very well. One of the reasons we didn't shoot it very well is because we weren't a very good passing team. So with this class, I felt that we had to get better passers, and better passers tend to lead to better shooting. And that's what we did with this class. And then now, they're competitors. They're guys that they were all respected on their teams. Their coaches enjoyed coaching them. So with all that said, now that gives me hope that when we ask them to because defense is all about sacrifice. When we ask them to sacrifice and give up their bodies to defend the way our team needs to defend, that they'll be willing participants. And away we go. And it's but that's kind of the mindset is find guys that have that competitive edge, that they're fearless with how hard they got to play, but also possess a skill offensively that you don't have to drag out of them, whether it's shooting, passing, ball handling, whatever it is. Like offensive rebounding. I think, if I got to yell at you to go rebound, you got no interest to make money, especially if you're a 6'7", 6'8" player. Rebounding is other than shot making, rebounding is just as equal a skill. Offensive rebounding is a skill. Like guys that do that, they continue to do that. And guys that don't offensive rebound, you can yell at them till you're blue in the face. They're not going to offensive rebound. So that's those are all things that we kind of look at and as we try to put our team together.
Last thing, Coach, it's late May and you have finalized your roster for the upcoming season. What are important points now in being able to start to configure your rotation?
Well, the most important thing right now is we have 5 returning players.
Mm-hmm.
Is that our coaching staff and those 5 players are on the same page. That is the most important part, that we put last year's experiences in our back pockets. I'm a big believer that, like I tell my children when they're in the car with me and I'm driving, I tell them, I say, just pay attention to my eyes. Mm-hmm. What do you mean, Dad? Just don't pay attention. You're not driving. Don't worry about the environment outside. Pay attention to my eyes. And my daughter and my youngest son, they're like, Dad, you're always peeking to the rear view mirror and you're always peeking to the side mirrors. And I said, because that's how you live life. You have to make sure you peek backwards to keep you humble and hungry. Yeah. But you better make sure your focus and your enthusiasm is for what's in front of you. And because that's an unknown. You don't control what's in front of you. And you can't change what's behind you, but you can learn from what's behind you. So, and in case of emergency in front of you, you got to have something that you can trust how to handle based on what's behind you. And so it's being connected as a staff, which we are, and getting those 5 guys to be connected with us and what we want from them. It gets back to what we talked about earlier. They're not very good at communicating with people their age that they don't know as to the do's and don'ts. So we have to be better as a staff from that standpoint with the 5 returning players so they can be our assistant coaches in the locker room as all these new personalities get in there. And before, Ken, that might take 2 years. And as coaches, we knew it, and we just kept pushing, and we were patient. We don't get 2 years anymore. We're in a bit. Look at Kevin Keats. He goes to the Final Four, gets fired a year later. Yeah. We're in a I'm not asking for anyone to feel bad for. I don't want to speak for other coaches, but for me, I make the decision to take this job and choose this profession. But that's the moment that we're in right now. It's a year to year. Everyone says you got a 5-year contract. No, you don't. We're living in a year to year environment right now, and so we have to be more creative and figure out ways to get the returning players on board to help us the best they can once all these new personalities come into that locker room.
Coach Frank Martin, I covered his teams at South Carolina when I lived up in Charlotte, and it's always great to catch up and talk to you on your coach, and I wish you the best now at UMass going forward, and maybe we can do this again close to the season.
Ken, anytime you need me, and I got to tell you, from the day you and I met, you continue to look better, and I continue to look worse. I'm trying to figure out what you're eating down there.
I feel like I look worse. I don't know. That's probably why I lost my wife and I'm not married.
Ah, boy. Well, you look like $1 million right now, my brother.
I failed you, man. I appreciate